Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Kevala Bhakti Sana. Bandamui Savadana Mate Bandamui Savadana Mate Hare Prasade Hare Bhavatariya Hare Prasade Hare Bhavatariya Krishna Prapti Hoya Aite Krishna Prapti Hoya Aite Gurumukha Padma Vaikya Chisekti Koriya Vaikya Padma Vaikya Chisekti Koriya Vaikya Hare no Koriyo Mane Asa Hare no Koriyo Mane Asa Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati Sakananda Tilo De Jamme Jamme Papu Se Sakananda Tilo De Jamme Jamme Papu Se Divya Yani Re Pakashito Divya Yani Re Pakashito Prema Bhakti Ahayate Abhijam Nasayate Rate Hare Gaya Hara Charita Hare Gaya Hara Charita Shiduru Karuna Sindhu Adama Chanar Bandhu Shiduru Karuna Sindhu Adama Prabhu Kora Doya De Hamare Parashaya Ere Asukuchi Bhuvana Ere Asukuchi Bhuvana Ha ha Prabhu Kora Doya De Hamare Parashaya Ha ha Prabhu Kora Doya De Hamare Parashaya Ere Asukuchi Bhuvana Ere Asukuchi Bhuvana Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Namo Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shundavadi Pastachara Shatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhaktavinda Nitai Gauranga 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 Gaurari Nitai Gauranga Gaurari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Rama Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gopal Govinda Ram, Shri Madhusudan, Girirati Gopina Madanam Mohan, Girirati Gopina Madanam Mohan. Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yaravaya Namah, Hari Hara Namah Krishna Yaravaya Namah. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita. Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita, oh Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraduna, Hare Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Hare Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Hare Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jaya Radhe Shyam. Jaya Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jaya Parvati Hospital, Hishman, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Gota Vaishnava Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Chakho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasa Gaur, Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Gira Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mathur Dham Ki Jai, New Raman Reti Dham Ki Jai, Jamunamai Gangamai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. All glorious to the sum of devotees, all glorious to the sum of devotees, all glorious to the sum of devotees, glorious to Shri Krishna Sankirtan.
Meditation, Kirtan, and Bhakti Yoga. This is a lecture Srila Prabhupada gave in New York in 1966. So if you take this advantage of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, in whatever position you may be, you will never be unhappy. You will always be prosperous. So why don't you take this advantage? Be situated. Oh, you are a medical practitioner? That's all right. You are engineer? That's all right. You are a clerk? That's all right. You are a real estate man? That's all right. Never mind whatever you are doing. Everyone has to do something to keep this body and soul together. That is the law of nature. So we may do whatever by God's grace or by nature Saturday, and then he's off for preaching in Jacksonville and leaving Florida. So very happy to have had him here. A little bit of Vrindavan came to New Raman Reti. Hare Krishna. Every evening, he's preaching, and there's like at least 35 people, right, coming to Hari Parai in his house. Very nice program over there. Here are the devotees who assisted their spiritual master addressing the deities today. Shishi Radha Sham Sundar Raghunath Das, Chota Radha Sham Sundar Karneshwari Devi Dasi, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram Guru Prasad Devi Dasi, Chota Krishna Balaram Nitai Priya Devi Dasi, Shri Shri Gaurnitai Jai Gauri Devi Dasi, Chota Leela Devi Dasi, Gurus and Lord Nishingadev, Avaduta Nitai Das, and Nanda Prabhu is giving class today.
Devotees. All glories to the unassembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Guranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Utinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pasyata De Satarane. Reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10. It's chapter 70, Lord Krishna's daily activities. We're doing text 27 and 28. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke. Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki. Before reciting this, if you know this, I'm sure you do know this, sorry, excuse me. We can say this together. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and Srila Prabhupada, the translator and commentator. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So text 27, word for word. Loke, in this world. Bhavan, you. Jagat, through the messenger who's come to the assembly house, which we heard so much about yesterday, the assembly house of Krishna and Dwarka. And here's they're speaking their confusion. We cannot chant this responsively, and then we'll chant the Loke Bhavan. Loke Bhavan Jagadina Kalaya Vatirna. Loke Bhavan Jagadina Kalaya Vatirna. Sadrakshanaya Kala Nigrahanaya Chanya. Sadrakshanaya Kala Nigrahanaya Chanya. Kaschit Vadiyam Atiyati Nidesham Isha. Kaschit Vadiyam Atiyati Yati Nidesham Isha. Kim Vajanas Vakritam Rich Chatitan Naviha. You are the, and then just a reminder, this is the messenger speaking on behalf of the imprisoned kings. You are the predominating Lord of the universe and have descended into this world with your personal power to protect the saintly and suppress the wicked. We cannot understand, O Lord, how anyone can transgress your law and still continue to enjoy the fruits of his work. So you can see here in this verse, the two sentences. The first sentence, they're speaking very from the scriptures. You know, we paritvanaya sadhunam. You know, that Krishna descending to protect the pious and to annihilate the miscreants. Then the second half, they're expressing but how is it happening that we who are pious kings are being suppressed by Jarasandha? So it's a confusion that we often face. We know the philosophy, but the application of it always takes it's a higher step. I'll just say it one more time. You are the predominating Lord of the universe and have descended into this world with your personal power to protect the saintly and suppress the wicked. We cannot understand, O Lord, how anyone can transgress your law and still continue to enjoy the fruits of his work. Purport. Sridhar Swami explains that the kings were bewildered by the suffering that had come upon them. They state here that since the Lord has descended in this world to protect the pious, and so 17th chapter, it's punishment and reward of Kali. When Maharaj Parikit's going about touring his kingdom, just like Sesha Prabhu yesterday very nicely delineated kind of elaborately on some of the duties of the kings and their responsibilities. So Maharaj Parikit, in that manner, as his responsibility of the king, he was going about his kingdom to make sure that everybody was performing their duties properly. And he comes upon Kali, who's beating the bull, and the cow and the bull are crying. And so he approaches them, and he wants to know who has done this to the bull? Who has done this to you? So he approaches the bull and says that, tell me who's the perpetrator of this sinful act. Nobody in my kingdom has suffered before, like this. So it's a stain on the good name of my dynasty. So he asked for who did it. And do you have something to say, Gopal? Do you know who did it?
It's Yamaraj and Bhumi.
Oh, thank you. Very good. It's Yamaraj and Bhumi in the form of the cow and the bull. Thanks for that. So Maharaj Parikit is asking the bull, who's done this to you? And the bull, he's not willing to point the finger. He's not willing to point the finger. Maharaj Parikit says, dishonest miscreants flourish because of cowardly and impotent heads of state. So I don't want that to happen in my kingdom. But the bull, and then he says that the supreme duty of the ruling king is to give all protection to its citizens and to chastise those who stray from the correct path of the scriptures in ordinary times when there's no emergency. But the bull, he takes the attitude, because he is the form of religion personified, he takes the attitude that he says it's very difficult to ascertain the cause of who's done this to us, because I'm bewildered by so many different philosophies. Because the different philosophers say karma is the cause. Some philosophers say nature is the cause. Some philosophers say this is the cause, that's the cause, whatever. But and Maharaj Pariksit acknowledges that, this personality is not an ordinary personality. Because the ordinary person, when they're suffering, the ordinary person looks to an external cause. That person, that circumstance, this is why I'm suffering. That's why. You did this to me, therefore I'm suffering. But Srimad Bhagavatam is always directing us to look inward. Look inward and take responsibility for our own actions. So here in these two verses, the kings are expressing kind of like that transition. They're expressing their understanding that Krishna, you've descended to this world, as we know from 4th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chaduskritam Dharma Samstapanataya. What's the last part, Gopal? Dharma Samstapanataya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. Thanks. Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. That I come millennium after millennium. I come in some form, to annihilate the miscreants and protect my devotees. So the kings are expressing that in the beginning part. So then they're saying, but this situation that Jarasandha has imprisoned us, 20,000 kings are imprisoned. And they're imprisoned in a dungeon. They're imprisoned in a cold, dark, damp dungeon, being deprived of food and exercise and light and proper clothing and proper care. They're being imprisoned and they're suffering so much. And they're wondering, how can this happen in the very presence of the Supreme Lord and his brother Balaram? The Supreme Lord and his brother, Lord Baladev, are there in the form of the time factor. Why can't they, how is it that Jarasandha can be flourishing? So even in this modern day and age, people often write books on that bewilderment. Like, the one that famous book comes to mind. How can bad things happen to good people? That person who has a very fortunate name to be named Hare Krishna wrote that book. So where's that? I mean, that's Krishna's Agyata Sukriti, that's Krishna giving him that causeless mercy to be named Hare Krishna. Anyway, so but he's bewildered, even though he's a holy person in the Jewish faith, a rabbi, he's bewildered. How can bad things happen to good people? And it's often a bewilderment to many, as it's explained in the purport, it's a bewilderment to many people because they're not understanding the effects of karma. Karma is a mysterious but universal system where the conditioned soul gets the reaction just, fair, and in proportion to the activities, he's getting the reaction of his activities. It's proportionate. So karma acts like a mirror. It acts like a mirror. So if you're looking in the mirror and you move your hand this much, the hand in the mirror is going this much. It's not going this much. It's going that. So karma acts like a mirror. What we've done, we get those different reactions. Padma Purana, it's quoted in, Prabhupada quotes it in verse form in Nectar of Devotion in the first chapter, my favorite chapter of Nectar of Devotion, the characteristics of pure devotional service. The first subheading is, what's the first subheading, John Masami? Kleshagni, yeah, thank you, brings relief from all material distress. And in that subheading, Prabhupada explains from the verse from the Padma Purana how the reaction manifests in different stages. So that verse from Padma Purana is Aparabda palan papam kutam bijam palon mukam kramenaiva praliyeta Vishnu bhakti rata mahan. And here's the translation. There are different stages of dormant reactions to sinful activities to be observed in sinful life. Sinful reactions may be just waiting to take effect. They're just right there. They're just right there. That's phalan mukha. Reaction may be still dormant, still more removed. A reaction might be there. That's kuta. Or reaction may be in a seed-like state, bija. In any case, all types of sinful reactions are vanquished after the one after the other if a person engages in service to the Lord Vishnu, in devotional service to Lord Vishnu, those reactions to those sinful activities. So in that, in Nectar Devotion, Prabhupada's explaining that the root cause of sinful activities is what? Don't say John Osman. What's the root cause of sinful activity? Very good. But where does that desire come from? Even one step further, behind, one step back. Sri Devi. Ignorance, avidya. The root cause is avidya. And because of ignorance, then one develops desire. Gopal's on top of it today. Jai. Thank you, Mom, for teaching him so nicely. Okay, so from avidya, ignorance, when the living entity makes that fateful, has that, desire to somehow or other, that envy arises in the heart, and the living entity wants to try to enjoy like Krishna. Why is all the service given to Krishna? Maybe I could do that. Maybe it should be for me. So in that ignorance, and what's the ignorance there? The ignorance is that the living entity thinks that he can be happy separate from the Lord. Forgetful. Thank you. I've got a good coach today. He's forgetful. What was that, Ragatni Kapoor? Ignoring. Ignorance. He's ignoring that his constitutional position, like the hand, here's a good example. Like the hand, it's only can work properly when it's properly connected to the body. When it thinks that it wants to enjoy separately and it's cut off and it's on the floor and thinking that I'm going to be happy like that, you really have to catch it you have to catch it before it cuts itself off and jumps onto the floor, because it's not going to be happy, and neither are you going to be happy with your hand on the floor like that. It's only happy when it's connected properly and works properly. And that's our position. That's our constitutional position. That's how we can be happy. Somehow or other, we've got it in our mind, or at least I have, that I can be happy separate from Krishna. And because of that, then I act in ignorance, then so many stages of that happen. And when one commits a sinful activity, because of desire, one's pushed eventually to perform the activity. When one performs the activity, there's two reactions that take place. One is subtle and one is gross. Perhaps the gross one, like the example given in Nectar Devotion, is the man who robs the bank. So immediately when he robs the bank, perhaps he's not caught right away. Perhaps there's some space of time, or even in this life he's not caught. But anyway, he's not caught right away. But he gets two reactions anyway. He gets the anxiety and the fear that he's going to be caught. That happens. But he also, that subtle effect is also placed in the heart, which is really devastating to the conditioned soul, is the desire to do it again. We get the desire to do it again. That's why sinful activities are so entangling. They're entangling for the very gross punishment that's offered. But the subtle punishment is the desire to do it again, so therefore we're further entangled in material existence, life after life. So the kings, so then what's the factor that why people can't understand why they're suffering? It's the time factor. Because it doesn't, sometimes Krishna gives the reaction immediately, but there's a time factor. There's space. Like the man who robbed the bank. Let's take that example. He robbed the bank and he, quote unquote, got away with it. So then what is he thinking? He's thinking, oh, let me do it again. What can I do? A better one, a bigger one, a this or that. Let me do it again. And he gets more and more entangled in sinful activities. What to speak of all the little things that we do when we're transgressing the laws of nature? We're getting the desire. That's why this process of sadhana, restraining ourselves from the four sinful activities and chanting Hare Krishna and reading the Bhagavatam. It's such a structure, it's a basic structure for our health, our spiritual health. Sometimes being the rascal that I am, sometimes the structure, I think, oh, I don't want, but actually it's actually for my own good. It's actually for more for my own good. It's actually for bringing about my proper health, my proper spiritual health. That's why it's so important to regularly, daily, constantly keep at it, constantly follow these principles and follow the process of sadhana. And that way, a taste will gradually develop. Do you know the verse, Gopal, or anybody, that explains how the taste isn't there in the beginning, but gradually, the taste will come? Sorry, I'm giving him a hint. The tongue. Oh, okay, that's cool. I wasn't thinking of that verse, but thank you. I was thinking of the verse from Nectar of Instruction. Were you thinking of that one? Do you know that one? Anyone? The tongue is covered by the jaundice of avidya, but by carefully chanting the holy name every day, that sweet taste will develop. So so the kings, back to the kings. So they're expressing that Krishna is coming to protect the pious and annihilate the miscreants, but the time factor has happened to them, and they're forgetting temporarily, because they're starting to remember, oh, perhaps this is happening because of my own past deeds. They're beginning to take responsibility. This is happening because of my own past deeds. And I'm actually, it was earlier, Lord Brahma gave us that very wonderful verse that Srila Prabhupada says in Nectar Devotion. He says, this should be the guide for all devotees. Tatenu kampam susamikshamanam. This should be the guide. When good things happen, a devotee should think, oh, Krishna is so kind. Even though I don't deserve this, he's giving me this circumstance. He's very kind. Let me offer my respects and gratitude to the Lord. And when difficulties happen in the devotee's life, they're also thinking, because they're also thinking that I actually deserve worse. Not in a sadistic way. They're not thinking that in a sadistic way, but actually through knowledge. Because by understanding, I've been in this material world for not just this one life of 60-odd years or whatever, but millions of lifetimes, and millions of lifetimes accumulating pious and sinful activities in such a way that Krishna is just giving me, this is what Lord Brahma says, he's just giving me a token of my past sinful activities. Let me offer my respects and gratitude to him as he's trying to rectify me on the path of devotional service. Prabhupada says this should be our guide. Because as we all are well aware and experiencing in our life every day, there's the ups and downs of life all the time. It's never a steady course. So these kings, although they were elevated to an exalted position in birth as kings and rulers of great countries, still, because Jarasandha, particularly at that time, had become more powerful than 10,000 elephants. Can you imagine how powerful that is? 10,000 elephants. That's, you could fight him? No way, you didn't say that. You didn't say. Okay, thanks. Sorry. So Jarasandha had become more powerful than 10,000 elephants, and he subdued those kings because he wanted to make that tamasic offering to Lord Shiva of the heads. He wanted to offer 20,000 heads to Lord Shiva. I'm glad I wasn't around at that time. Well, it says there were 20,000. In the previous verse, it said that there were 20,000 that they were imprisoned. So he's just waiting for probably the right titi to offer. Sorry, that's my speculation, but, there's always auspicious times even for your tamasic rituals, too. So, but they're so fortunate that Krishna's right there, and they're able to, offer their heartfelt prayers to the Lord through the messenger. And they're seeing that, excuse me, and they're starting to understand that, due to my past activities, I was the one who accepted the pleasure of being a king as more important than the pleasure of serving the Lord. And therefore, that illusion, I like that last sentence in the text number 28 in the purport. The kings admit that they have fallen under the spell of the Lord's illusory energy and have mistaken the tremendous anxiety of political leadership for happiness. So we perhaps in our life, it's not our karmic due just yet to have that pleasure, kingly pleasure, but perhaps whatever pleasure we're having in our life, if we mistake it as the all in all, instead of pleasure from serving the Lord, of the holy name of the Lord is so potent that this is the means to uproot from the heart that seed of sinful desire becomes uprooted by the chanting of the holy name. And that's the difference that's explained in these processes, like Bhagavad Gita explains karma kanda, jnana kanda, and explains about bhakti yoga. So in the process of karma kanda, the devotee, the person is following a religious life, following prescribed rules and regulations, but solely for the purpose to try to enjoy in the material world. So they're performing sacrifice and doing this and giving gifts and charity with the intention of elevating their positions, pride, or made unproductive. That seed will sprout up again. So someone might be trying to counteract.
Our ISKCON Sridhar Swamis always used to quote it. Lord Buddha said that distress is compulsory, suffering is optional. So in other words, we can choose our response, and this tattva that you've presented today is actually how that's done.
Thank you for that comment. That reminded me of, I read one comment, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was, how he gives his little dialogues back and forth. So he was presenting the counter argument. Well, why does the devotee suffer? Why should there be suffering at all? And he says, my dear devotee, you're a devotee into suffering so that when he's relieved of that suffering, his feelings of gratitude are even more intense. I believe I was reading that from that 10th canto verse when after Krishna disappeared from the gopis in the Ras dance, and then he came back and the gopis were talking with him and criticizing him and lightly criticizing him. And he said, the reason that I don't reciprocate with my devotees right away when they propitiate me is sometimes it's because I want to increase their hankering. That's another thing. I think that's another mellow that we can add to that. Why, because I'm sure that we've experienced that in our in the intensity of suffering. It's easier to take shelter of Krishna than when everything's just going peachy keen, as they say. When it's really difficult, then it's easy to take, and that's was Queen Kunti's mood, praying therefore for more and more suffering. Not for suffering's sake, but for the sake of remembering Krishna. Anyway, that's just one thing. Jitari Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, thank you. had two things. I was going to ask you, now, wasn't there another instance where there was another person that imprisoned the 16,108?
Remember
That's
who that
different
was?
than
That's
Jarson?
different. Yeah,
That's different. So
yeah,
there's
that's Banasura,
Banasura.
right?
Wow.
Or Bomasura.
Boy, kings really.
Excuse me? Narakasura.
Wow.
Narakasura. He imprisoned those.
So there was
That's
two
different.
instances where all these kings really got. And one other thing is, so you were saying about the devotees, or the kings were saying, well, we brought this on ourselves. Okay, so in our philosophy, devotees, I've always heard like devotees kind of like just accept whatever turmoil is coming, but then if you see another devotee being harmed or persecuted, you jump in and help them in some way. But in terms of our own take on things, if we see that something's happening to us that is, we don't like react to, why are you doing this to me, Krishna, but say, okay, it's coming to me, but should we then just like accept it, or can we kind of like try and mitigate it, or I guess react? In other words, like if somebody's attacking us, it's not like we get all upset about it, but still we have to kind of like protect ourselves.
Right. It's
you
not
see
that we
what I'm
become,
saying?
it's not that by hearing this philosophy we become catatonic. Just sit in the corner and think, if the sun shines on me, it's okay, and if it rains on me, it's okay. I'm just going to sit here because everything's happening. Because just think of Arjuna's position in Bhagavad Gita, right? He's trying to not do anything because it's a little difficult that, killing his grandfather and this and that, it's difficult. So therefore, I don't want to fight. I'm going to go off to the forest. That's the whole scenario of the scene, setting the scene of Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna says, no, you're not. You have to do your duty. But he doesn't just say that. He says, do your duty and what? Think of me. So it screws our head back on, to say, it puts it in perspective. Do your duty, do what's necessary, like especially in a case like, it would be very difficult and very unusual if someone was attacking you that you didn't do anything. It's a normal self-preservation. But, other scenes still we're thinking. Sometimes there's verbal attacks.
But you remain detached in that.
That's the key. That's Bhagavad Gita key. That's the key. Be detached. Do what you can do, but be detached. Just, Maharaj, would you like to add something to that? No? Okay. Mathura had his hand up. Mathura in the Janmashtami, this is Mathura here. Did you have you had a question, right? Or comment?
Yeah. One of my things I think about quite often is that, in this regard, is the verses from the first canto. I believe it's the Divinity Divine Service, chapters 2. And, where Lord Krishna says, how he cleanses the heart of his devotees who are endeavoring to serve him, hearing and chanting and serving his devotees. I cleanse I'm even forgetting right now, but I from within the heart, I guess Bhagavad Gita is telling, within the heart I cleanse, and the sun's illuminating. What's that verse? And anyway, so many verses like that are talking about purification, removing these things, right? The abhadrani, inauspicious things, and then we hear so many quotes about the holy name. Srinamamrita, of course, it's things that are almost hard to understand how powerful the holy name is, about removing our different, karmas or some scars. But it seems like to me, these impressions, I think they call, what do they call, some scars?
Impressions,
they
some scars,
seem,
yes.
Because I can remember what I was doing before I joined the movement, and some things that were not so good, and still there. And it's almost like Krishna's now bringing them up more. Now after what, almost 40 years, now it's like, I'm like, oh God. But anyway, I mean, I just wonder, like, as far what should my perspective be?
We should go on. Just go on. We're thinking the samskaras run very deep, but if we take wholeheartedly and even cry out even more sincerely to the Lord, I, on my own power, can't control my mind and my heart, but only you can do that. Please help me take shelter of you. And I've been listening to a few classes of Vaisheshika Prabhu. Says, and he always has these little sutras. Keep at it. Just keep at it. Don't give up. Just keep at it, and a relief will come gradually. And it's already come. It's already come. Sometimes we, as the cloud of our sinful life gradually lifts, because it's gradual, we don't always appreciate it. But like the airplane, you sit on the airplane and you're fiddling with your seat belt and you're adjusting this and that. The plane's taking off, and then sooner or later you're like way up, and you can't even see the people or the houses. You barely see the trees, so it's happening. We've made progress, and there's much more to be had if we just keep at it. So just one more comment. Pushkar, you had a comment? And I have to go. I'm sure you do too.
Just gonna thinking of this one shloka that I like. I can't remember the whole thing. It's when Kamsa was about to kill Devaki, and Vasudev was there protecting. So the point brought there, I think, by Shukadev, but it doesn't really say. It's a shloka there. Yata buddhi balodayam. Yata naparadi. It says there's no aparad, no offense, as one tries to protect the body. As long as one has mental strength, mental and physical strength, he should try to protect himself. That's given as a very nice, super excellent shloka for that whole incident of Vasudev protecting Devaki. He didn't just say, okay, go on, cut away. Here, here's a dotted line, cut. No.
Yeah.
He taxed his mind and was trying to pacify Kamsa in so many ways. Like, let me tell this guy anything. He's a maniac.
Yeah.
And so that verse is there, encapsulates the entire mood, Bhav.
Thanks.
And then, thanks for it.
Thanks. And that's because the body's the instrument. The body's the instrument that we have now to utilize in service of the Lord. Thank you very much for your kind attention. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. You know what, though? I mostly speak for myself. Because I need to hear it. That was really good. It's like exactly what I needed.